Hello and welcome to Headliners. Merry Christmas, everybody. Isn't it merry? How are you doing?
Very merry.
Paul and Lewis, how are you?
I'm good.
It's good. We're going to catch up with your happiness. You've been happy all day, and we're going to...
I've been here all day, Lewis. Excellent. Before we start the show, let's have a quick look at tomorrow's front pages. The Daily Express leads with "Stop relying on sales to beat the budget blues." The Times has action plan as private schools face bankruptcy. The Independent, Putin's inhumane blitz leaves Ukraine in the cold. And the Daily Mirror has "With love and hugs." Finally, the iPaper has Labour facing growing threat as voters shift to reform UK. And it's not finally, there's another one. Finally, the Daily Mail. Moving on, we're moving on. OK, let's have... Shall we have a detailed look?
At the Daily Mail, let's go to the Daily Mail.
Let's have a look at the Daily Mail.
Yeah, why not the Daily Mail? Merry
idea.
Christmas to everybody out there. Charles, my heartfelt gratitude to selfless doctors and nurses. In a deeply personal message, the King pays tribute to staff who supported him and his family. I mean, I'm hoping he also did that at the time and didn't just wait till Christmas because, you know, they've been working on him all year. I'm sure he did. I watched the speech today. Did either of you watch the speech?
No, and triple no.
Yes, I did watch this.
Yeah, I did watch it. I mean,
I work on a news channel.
Yeah, well, exactly. I did watch it, and it was tamer than I was led to believe in the press earlier in the week. So I did Headliners on Monday. I have no idea what day of the week it is now, but I know it's not Monday. And it seemed like they were sort of gearing us up for this kind of, the King is going to say that the whole country came together after Southport, and those of us that are on Headliners on Monday definitely questioned that. But it was a kind of pretty mild speech. It was done in a chapel, actually, in the Fitzroy Chapel in central London, which I think Diana, the People's Princess, the People's Gammon, the People's Princess, opened sometime in the 80s.
If only she'd lived, Paul. You could have
If only she lived. Hopefully I won't die. I think I will. I think I will at some point. But it's Christmas. Let's not think about that. One thing I did notice is how the King, and I'm a big fan of the monarchy, he's kind of grown the side out of his hair, so you can't see his ears anymore. And I admire this. I admire the illusion of this.
Why, you've got lovely ears.
Our King, has got bigger ears, and he's...
So how do you admire that?
Well,
that he wants to hide
in the same way I
ears?
wear a baggier top to hide some of the jelly, you know, I can see what he's doing with the ears.
It's funny you mentioned the ears, because he did say listening a lot, didn't he? He said listening.
Well, he can listen very well.
Well, he talked about it a lot. He talked about it so much, I thought even Lewis might think about listening.
Do you know what? I can listen. I can listen to someone who's saying something. I don't want to talk about the King. This is not my country. I wasn't born here. I'm not English. I'm sorry. My kids are English. I want what's best for them. But you know what it is? This station likes the royal family. But the truth is that this King does not care about this country. I'm sorry. He cares about the global world. He's like into the Commonwealth. He's in the World Economic Forum's pocket. He's in Davos right now. And number two, if you've got cancer and you want to have chemotherapy, you want to have radiology, whatever it is,
Received
Radio Gaga.
is that you go ahead. I'm not going there at all. Or surgery. I'm not going there.
I hope you never have to, mate.
No, don't tell me I have to. I'm not.
I'm saying I hope you never have to.
What does that mean? Because some doctor says you need to...
I hope... Lewis, listen. That's it.
Listen.
I hope you never get unwell and have to make the choice. That's what I'm saying.
I made the choice beforehand. Is it no radiology for
OK,
Lewis
so that's
Schaefer?
the King's speech nicely covered. Let's have a look at the Express, please, Lewis.
That was too much. That was too much. Shops relying on sales to beat budget blues. This is in the Daily Express. Well, I mean, it's a question. It doesn't say that the results are in, that people are spending way more money out there. And my personal feeling is I don't think people are spending money out there. Do you think they're...
No, I think the problem is they know, the Daily Express know, and the wider public know that this budget spoke Britain down economically, and you know we still have many businesses out there that need us to talk Britain up, particularly economically, and they're hoping for a bonanza or a Boxing Day to give us a bit of a spike in retail. But I really, sadly, don't think it matters how big tomorrow is, Boxing Day is, I think we're in for a bumpy ride in 2025 because this budget is anti-growth. Yeah. There's no two ways about it. And if you have an anti-growth budget that puts up borrowing and tax the living daylights out of the working people, you are going to end up with problems on the high street.
Excellent point.
And it's a dying high street anyway. And I just think that Labour are in for a really cold shower in 2025.
They're right now. They're getting.
Well, I mean,
it's wet
but they're in this
now.
kind of hue at the moment where they believe that we're just putting things in place, and at some point it'll all come good.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Is that what you believe?
It's what I believe right now.
Because I agree with that. I think there's going to be civil war within the next 2 years.
2 weeks.
Wow, that's escalated.
Yeah, I would say within.
I
think people are going to be.
Boxing Day sale.
Yeah. But not on Boxing Day. Boxing Day should be fine.
Good.
I hope. But
Have you just said it because we're just trying to up the ante? Everything I say, you're like,
No,
I think there'll be a riot tomorrow, Lewis.
Yeah, no, because you're usually optimistic, but I'm not. Are you optimistic?
I don't know.
Is Cressida, are you optimistic?
I'm optimistic that Paul is going to cover the I paper next.
I am. Labour facing growing threat as voters shift to reform. So British politics enters 2025 in a three-way tie with Nigel Farage's Reform UK, almost even with Labour and the Conservatives. And it's fantastic, I think. I think it's fantastic to see this. If you imagine, metaphorically, Labour as a scrotum, which I am now, and I'm hoping you are too.
Where's this going?
Nigel Farage is the genital wart upon them at the moment. He really is growing voraciously. And I don't know what I'm doing here.
That's technically Ofcom compliant, isn't it? It just doesn't seem appropriate for breakfast.
But what I'm saying is he's a real thorn or genital wart in Labour and Conservative side of their scrotum.
He's not a thorn. He's a thorn because you could pull out a thorn and you don't have the thorn as a problem. Nigel Farage is what should be the proper face of what's happening in the future. Is that Labour or the Tories, they don't have the answer to the question: who's fighting for Britain? Who's fighting for the Angles, the Saxons, the Picts, the Celts, the Welsh?
If they had any sense, wouldn't they welcome Nigel in? Because he's offering to help with the relationship with Donald and to sort out the tariff situation.
No. Can I answer that?
Yes.
He answers no. He answers no. Of course, they're not going to welcome him in because he's a mirror in their face which says that you, Keir Starmer, and the Labour Party are no good. You don't stand for Britain. You don't stand for the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, the Picts, the Scots.
Oh, they're not doing very well, are they? Every week we hear that more people are going to reform, and surely it might do them some good to just let him have. I think they should bring him in. It
would be like, say, a guy in Germany saying, "We love Jews" back in the 1930s. It's a bit too little, too late.
All right, Lewis.
Let Paul speak.
We know that they believe that reform and Farage is a problem because they repeatedly tell us that he's not.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how we know that they know that particularly things like the red wall that sometimes goes blue. And this shade of blue, actually, upon the rashers.
Tell people that's bacon.
It is bacon. Bacon as you are, the rashers. I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't even had a drink for months.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at The Guardian, please, Lewis.
Well, which story is the most unimportant in this thing? It says dozens killed as plane crashes in Kazakhstan. And it's a plane that crashed from Kazakhstan that was going to, I think it was going from the city, from someplace in Azerbaijan that was going up to some other place. And they're blaming the Russians, which is, of course, what they want to do. They want to blame the Russians for everything because they're gung-ho NATO, they're gung-ho Team World, they're gung-ho Europe. And why would the Russians have blown up the plane?
Anything on this, Paul?
It's really difficult. Both Ukraine and Russia are at war, so there's going to be loads of shenanigans going on. Something like this is startling, particularly to us, looking at it from the West, thinking, what are they doing? Would they bring down the planes of a supporting country? Would they go as far to blow innocent people out the sky? We already know the Russians would do that. I don't know what this means. It feels to me they know that Trump's on his way, and both Ukraine and Russia are almost trying to accelerate this war before they're told they have to stop mucking about.
Right.
And it could just be a Brazilian-built plane that crashes in a country called Kazakhstan that you don't think of having the best air flight.
Amazing.
business.
OK, let's have a quick look at the Times, please, Paul.
Action plan as private schools face bankruptcy. Now, of course, one of the big stories in January is going to be that VAT will be applied to private schools across the UK. This is going to adversely impact a lot of aspirational working and middle-class people in the UK. Some of the schools will take the fees on the chin and absorb to some degree. A lot of the fees will be passed on to those working people, and it's going to push a lot of children out of the private sector into the already struggling public sector schools,
where they don't have to pay any more money. So it's basically a drain on the money that's already in the system. OK, so it's a loss.
Yeah, I think
individuals have to use that. It's a loss.
It feels like just another attack on the middle classes.
A lot of people,
anybody, everybody.
Yeah, a lot of people particularly working people, have never sent their children. I never went to a private school, public school as we call it in the UK. However, this doesn't just affect people that are well off. There's also performance-type schools. Some friends of mine, their son is a very talented ballet dancer. He is going to a school in Birmingham alongside his normal education because he's this big talent. And they could never afford to send him there. And if these fees go up, there is a chance that he will lose his space. And this will happen to many aspirational families across the UK.
Yeah, dreadful. OK, that's the front. And Diane Abbott doesn't think the Arctic tundra that we call our dear leader is good at empathy, Lewis.
Yes, this is fantastic news. I don't know why. But Starmer, which is Keir Starmer, who's the leader of the Labour Party, doesn't have a feel for politics, quote unquote, or the Labour Party. This is from Diane Abbott, who in theory should know what... But she does know, because she's been elected up in Islington, and she's basically having a dig at Keir Starmer because she's been kicked out of the party with her boyfriend, Jeremy Corbyn, right?
I think they split up in about 1986.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
not
it was for a
currently.
while. I don't mean now they're going out.
Yeah, somebody that she's allied to.
I like her a lot because she had a very important vote on Brexit. Do you remember that? And she didn't turn up. And I thought to myself, that's the kind of thing that would happen to the Lewis Schaefer family. Either me or maybe my mother would do that. She just, I don't feel like it, and she get old feeling depressed or sick or something. But she's bad-mouthing Keir Starmer because Keir Starmer didn't want her in the party. And the fact is that that's the best thing about the Labour Party. If the Labour Party is going to be like the Labour Party, they need to have people like...
But she is correct, isn't she? I mean, we don't think of him as empathetic, do we? He's not known for that. He's known for taking heating money off old people.
He doesn't really have an identity. He doesn't have any empathy. He is someone who loves the rules, and he's like an actor in his own life. He just reads other people's words out. I mean, he flip-flops from one policy. He was like Enoch Powell the other day when he was talking about immigration. Then he'll swing completely the other way and he'll be taking the knee for something ridiculous. And Diane Abbott has become this kind of thing that we can all get behind in the last couple of months.
Very strange, isn't it, to find yourself agreeing with Diane Abbott twice in 1 month?
But Keir Starmer, you have to remember, who voted for him? His own party voted for him, or at least the MPs there voted for him. Who does he represent? He represents Team World over there in Davos. This country is divided between people who support the evilness of the Germans, the French, and Davos people, and yes, why?
This table's divided. Telegraph next, and perhaps there are still a few Labour voters who do manual labour more often than kimchi, Paul.
Well, yes. Red Wall MPs tell Starmer to get tough on immigration, or we will lose our seats to reform. So this is around 35 MPs, and they've formed a pressure group, which I think they've called the Wet Flannels, and they've done this because they know that they sit in constituencies where their constituents will be very unhappy with the immigrant crisis. There's a high percentage probability that they are likely to have voted Brexit. They probably voted for the Tories in 2019. They swung back to Labour for change in 2024, and what they've learned is that there is no difference and therefore no change between the Tories and Labour. And I know people think that we're the sort of propaganda arm of reform, particularly the detesters of GB News. We're not, OK? There are a lot of supporters of reform here. Well, we're genuinely, no one tells us what to say here, but it's very, very easy because Reform are the only party that are talking any sense on immigration. And they're the only ones that have got a history of talking complete sense on immigration.
Wait, the way you... Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
The way Paul says it is like there's sense and there's not sense. It was like during the Trump Kamala Harris, thing. Like people are actually voting for Kamala Harris or they're actually voting for Trump. No, they're voting for the big issues of the day, which is immigration is, on one hand, is like we're against immigration. Why are we against immigration? Because we support the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, the Picts, the Celts. We support the Nigerians who are living in this country.
They're talking here about looking at other issues, including access to GPs, antisocial behaviour, the cost of living crisis. You could argue, some people would argue, that those topics all kind of come as subtopics under immigration. There's some relationship there.
It's a really good point, Krista, and they should argue that, because what they have to try and do is detach those arguments in order to make their original point, which is that immigration is absolutely fine and there's nothing for us to worry about. Because all other policies are designed for us to be coached into believing that's true. So if you start picking away at it, you're going to find out very quickly that immigration, no matter whether you like diversity or not, is causing huge problems in the UK.
Absolutely.